Let's talk about some of the big-name strikers that are on the move because they seem to be back in fashion at this present juncture. Delap going to Chelsea. Isak has been talked about a lot. Newcastle desperate to keep hold of him, and quite rightly so. Gyökeres expected to be on the move. Sesko's been linked with a move to the Premier League as well. And we know that in the last 24 hours, Crookie's been breaking the story about Ekitike, Hugo Ekitike of Eintracht Frankfurt. Crook, just bring us up to date on exactly where we stand as far as Liverpool, their bid, and how long it will be till that's completed.
Yeah, we reported yesterday morning that the first verbal bid had gone in. It was in excess of £70 million. Personal terms, as often is the case now with modern transfers, already agreed. It's a 6-year contract, I think, on the table for Ekitike. And, of course, this drama really started on Tuesday when we got wind of the fact that Liverpool had asked Newcastle the question about Alexander Isak. Is he available? If so, we're ready with a British record bid. Obviously, Newcastle very quickly closed the door on that. But what it did mean is Liverpool diverted their attentions to Ekitike, who, of course, Newcastle were trying to sign. So it's been a really interesting few days. But we think this deal now will get done for Liverpool. And actually, it'll be the second time that Ekitike has turned down a move to Newcastle. He was close to joining in a January window a couple of years ago and ended up at Paris Saint-Germain. They're paying for potential. He's not played that many games at the top level. His move to Paris didn't work out at all. But clearly Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes, you don't get much wrong when it comes to recruitment, have seen something in him. And obviously it just bolsters what was already a pretty formidable-looking attack.
Let's get a little bit more information about him and find out exactly what Liverpool fans can expect from him when he joins by speaking to German football reporter Constantin Eckner, who joins us live now. Hi, Constantin.
Hey, Sam. How's it going down there?
Yeah. Very good, thank you. The weather here much better than where you are in Germany today, I hear. I heard you're engulfed by storms. Talk to us about Ekitike. Why is he so highly sought after?
He got his big break basically after Frankfurt sold Omar Mamouche in January. The two played together as a two-striker setup during the first half of last season. But Ekitike was a little bit overshadowed by Mamouche because Mamouche was the big breakout star of the Bundesliga during the first half of last season. But after that, he was the lone striker for Eintracht Frankfurt, did very well for himself and for Frankfurt, scored 10 goals across all competitions after Mamouche basically left or was left out of the squad and then was sold to City. Ekitike, a bit of a lanky striker, 6'2", roughly that, but actually quite a good technician and also someone who can dribble, can come from outside the box, so it's not just a mere box striker or someone who is just comfortable inside the box, but he can work outside the box. And also something else which probably is highly valued by Arne Slot, he's a great pressing player. So you got Dominik Szoboszlai, one of the best pressing players in the entire league, in the Premier League, and now adding Ekitike and Florian Wirtz. So they might be a force to be reckoned with also defensively when it comes to high presses.
I saw him a couple of times. I went to Frankfurt with Tottenham. I saw him at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and a few other times in the Europa League last season. And occasionally I felt that he sort of drifted in and out of games. He's 23, though. Is this a kid with room to grow?
So he's not like one of these unpolished diamonds you sometimes get, right? He's not quite a finished product, but he's close to being a finished product. So you know what you get there. That's hence Frankfurt demands 80 or more million pounds because they feel like, all right, he's a finished product, he's a proven goal scorer. Of course, he doesn't have that much experience at the highest level. When he joined Paris Saint-Germain in 2022 after his big break with Stade Reims, he didn't really play that much for Paris, and they even left him out of the Champions League squad at some point, which then was probably the sign for him to go elsewhere. He joined Frankfurt later. He's not someone who might put up 20, 25 goals a season, but he's a workhorse striker. So even when Frankfurt didn't do that well early on when he joined them, he just was going after every ball, long balls. He was running down the field, even if it looked pointless. And he's also someone who can annoy defenders by being that relentless. And I think that suits Liverpool well because they already have proven goal scorers with Salah, with Cody Gakpo, and also with Florian Wirtz to an extent. And now adding someone who can put in a lot of work might actually be a great addition, in my opinion.
Wirtz and Ekitike, the German market, obviously somewhere where Liverpool think that there is a lot of talent. Is it an untapped developing ground, do you think?
It's sometimes funny because, I mean, Frankfurt, they signed Ekitike for 14 million and they now sell him for, what, 80 million? I mean, in total, the two sales of Marmoush and Ekitike will bring them in over 140 million pounds. Alexander Isak played early on in his career for Borussia Dortmund, especially Dortmund and Liverpool and Frankfurt, and also Leverkusen to an extent. They are just great at finding these talents with all due respect to the Ligue 1, in the smaller leagues in a sense, so in the Ligue 1, in Eredivisie, in Denmark, and so on. And then they develop them, and then they sell them on to the Premier League. So in a sense, I mean, it's like first the Bundesliga buys the Ligue 1, and later the Premier League buys the Bundesliga in terms of player transfers. And it's just the way it goes right now. And the Bundesliga clubs like Frankfurt and even Leverkusen are more or less fine with selling these players because they are very comfortable and very confident that they will find the next one. And Frankfurt already signed a new striker, a German international by the name of Johnny Burkhardt, who might go to the Premier League in 2 years.
2 years, 6 months, by the way things are going with that club. Thank you very much, Constantin. Appreciate that. Crookie, Charlie. Charlie, let me ask you, what does this say about Liverpool's ambition actually in the transfer market? They're signing Wirtz under the nose of Manchester City. They've got Ekitike when other people were certainly in for him. Newcastle were heavily mentioned. Does it show how powerful they are in the transfer market and how powerful a proposition they've become?
Absolutely. A big club mentality, winning mentality, doing your business early. Getting the signings over the line. And if you look at the players they've signed in terms of Wirtz 22, Ekitike 23, Frimpong 24, Kerkez 21, young up and coming players that have got experience, that are quality players, and yeah, they're doing the business well. Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards are strong negotiators, and once they get the targets and they get their eye on somebody, they don't really let it go unless it gets silly. But when they want somebody, they go and get it, and they do the business. They don't hang around, and I think that's clear for the manager as well, that he knows. And I didn't really want to bring up, but I think with the tragedy that's happened over Liverpool, I think these quality players will lift the football club, and bring the joy to the. I think these are 4 quality players. If they can get the striker in, I think they are 4 top signings for Liverpool for next season, and for me, I think they're the team to catch again.
It wouldn't surprise me if they're not finished there either, because obviously they've kept their powder pretty dry in the last couple of transfer windows. They signed Chiesa for a relatively modest sum. They've got Mamardashvili coming in as a backup goalkeeper. But apart from that, I think the plan was always to allow Arne Slot a year to get his feet under the table. Probably progressed a lot more quickly than they expected in terms of winning that Premier League title, and then really have an assault on the transfer market. There's still interest in Luis Diaz. I know the official line from Liverpool is that he's not for sale, but I think if Bayern come back with a bid that gets nearer the sort of £80 million mark, they might cash in on him. And there's been some talk that Rodrygo from Real Madrid could come in as a replacement, and that would be another really exciting signing. I fear for the rest of the Premier League if they were to bring a player of that calibre on top of what they're already doing.
Well, what it's doing is it's forcing the rest of the Premier League's hand, Charlie, isn't it? Manchester United desperate to go after him, Burma. Arsenal, Victor Gyökeres, they want to get him through the door. Chelsea have spent big money already. Pep Guardiola spent a load in January and will probably buy again before this close season is out. By Liverpool's actions, they're almost raising the bar for everybody else. They've got to go as well.
Yeah, and again, that's it. They're the champions, and they're not messing around. They're not waiting to see what happens in the market. They've got the targets, good recruitment, ready to go, and FSG are willing to spend the money because of the cleverness that they have over the last few transfer windows and not spending the money that they've done, and they've had a big summer. And to be fair to the club, we didn't really think they would go and spend the way they've spent. Arsenal were talking about it's a big summer for us and that, but Slot never come out. The club have never said that, and they've done their business and they've got very good players and improving the team and improving the group. Which, some players are coming, of age, but they're a group that are hungry and desperate to keep winning, and ultimately, Liverpool look like they're going to be favourites for the title with the signings that they've got at the moment, but. You can't rule out Man City and ultimately the business that other clubs will do in the next few weeks.
I think it's going to be a brilliant title race. You mentioned it already. Arsenal, I think Gyökeres is going to happen, and you look at their deficiencies last season, it was at the top end of the pitch. Defensively, they're solid with Saliba and Gabriel. Man City surely are going to be better for their new signings, and Chelsea, confidence must be flooding through that dressing room, having won the Conference League, qualified for the Champions League, then won the Club World Cup. it's been a frustrating summer for Newcastle so far, but they're ambitious to bring players in. I think we could be talking genuinely about 4 or 5 teams who all fancy a tilt at the title next year.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.